Could a simple pill stop the extreme fatigue of jet lag? It's the middle of the night, but you're wide awake. Is there a way to stop jet lag playing havoc with your sleep when you're travelling?
For about 50 minutes or so each day, I have to wear these glasses.
Rajan's in China exploring Hefei, a city that's boomed from a rural backwater into an industrial powerhouse, and
getting modern in Miami and Mexico City. That's later in the programme.
Hello and welcome to Fast Track. I'm Fiona Foster. Now, if you're a frequent flyer, you may have found your own way of dealing with jet lag. That annoying phenomenon that wakes you up when you're meant to be asleep and gets you yawning when you should be wide awake. Or maybe you've just learnt to live with it. Well, either way, you should be pleased by the news that scientists think they may have found a possible cure. We sent Keith Wallace to find out just how close we are to rewiring our body clocks with just a single pill.
San Francisco, a lovely place to go on your holidays, ride on a tram, do a bit of shopping, or like Erin and Andy here, go and have a nose at the world famous Golden Gate Bridge. All fine and good, but in just a couple of days the fun will end and they face resetting their body clocks to London time. There's 8 hours difference, and as any seasoned traveller will tell you, it's harder readjusting when you're going from west to east.
It's more just the general feeling of haziness and not really quite sure where you are. I feel just a bit fuzzy really.
Try and stay up as long as possible, so if I arrived in the morning I try and stay up until I need to go to bed that night.
I don't have any advice given to me that I would actually take, but my aunt told me to sleep at the wrong end of the bed because she believed that that would be more in line with the country that you'd been in and your body would be more kind of settled, which I think is probably rubbish.
It's a shame then there's not simply a pill you can swallow to ease the transition. Well, very soon there might be. Scientists in Oxford say they've isolated the protein that makes changing our body clocks so arduous.
What we did was to take this protein out of the master clock in the brain of a mouse and then give the mouse jet lag. So we advanced the light-dark cycle by 6 hours. A normal mouse would take about 6 days to adapt, whereas the mouse with this protein knocked out in the master clock adapted within a day. It was absolutely extraordinary. And we're now clearly working on drugs which might change that pathway and allow us to deal with jet lag much more effectively.
It's a competitive branch of science right now. In Japan, researchers at Kyoto University say they've also been able to control responses to jet lag in mice. It all still needs trialling in humans, so a product you can take with your in-flight Chardonnay is still a few years away yet, but there seems to be progress. Solving this discomfort is big business. When the 787 Dreamliner was being built, one of the selling points was Boeing's promise of anti-jet lag lighting. And more recently, Airbus has been selling its research into wider seats on the same claims. Cynics might say that all this money in research might be better off being thrown at something less frivolous, like the hunt for a new AIDS vaccine, for example, or for a cure for cancer. However, frequent, prolonged exposure to jet lag might come with its own risks.
All I need is some sunshine.
To get a very basic idea of the biological disruption it causes, I reset my own body clock just for a few days, getting up at 2 AM and going to bed at 6 at night. That's a 5-hour shift, like I travel to the west coast of India. Hi, is Keith from Fast Track here to see Professor Williams? I wore a light and motion sensor on my wrist to relay to Professor Adrian Williams exactly what I'd been doing.
Okay, again, 150 over 100 with a pulse of 63. The pulse has settled down a bit.
My blood pressure registered a little high, though it's difficult to know how much of that was down to disturbed sleep alone. However, for those people who repeatedly tinker with their body clocks, there's a warning. Some business travellers, for instance, disrupt their body clocks quite frequently over a very long period of time. Should they be concerned about that?
I think the simple answer is yes, because sleep is essential. It's impossible to avoid it. It's there for a very good reason, even if we don't know that reason. Jet lag is inevitably associated with less sleep than is ideal, and to repeat that for a long time means that somebody would be sleep deprived.
Of course, there already is a magic pill that combats jet lag, taken regularly by many travellers, particularly in North America. Melatonin is a hormone secreted at night that encourages sleep. In 2009, an independent not-for-profit review concluded it was remarkably effective in tackling jet lag and should be recommended to travellers crossing 5 or more time zones, though it also says more investigations necessary into the effects on people with epilepsy and those taking the drug warfarin. And it's not universally available. In some parts of the world, the US for instance, or Finland or Saudi Arabia, it's treated as a natural remedy and sold over the counter. But in European Union countries, it's a medicine, controlled, regulated and available only on prescription.
The important thing is it has to be taken at the right time. I've indicated that it's 12 hours before or after light exposure, but that whole thing has to be timed around the starting circadian phase. That's how way everything was at the beginning. If you give melatonin at a peculiar time, and I won't be specific, then that can delay the adjustments.
It's not hugely effective. It sort of will speed things up a bit. And many people have called melatonin a sleep hormone. It isn't. It's a marker of the dark. So in a mouse, for example, which is active during the dark, its melatonin levels are up and they're high. And of course, it's not putting the mouse to sleep.
Remember Erin and Andy on holiday in San Francisco? Well, we asked them to try out melatonin for us, comparing it with one of the very many gadgets on offer that purports to help.
I've been told to take this tablet of melatonin at the equivalent of about between 10 p.m. and midnight back home.
For about 50 minutes or so each day, I have to wear these glasses like this with the light switched on. And it's supposed to reset my sleeping patterns.
So Erin, you using the melatonin, how was it?
The melatonin was pretty successful, really. It was very good for just getting you to sleep. So within half an hour of taking it, gone, lights out, which was really good. First day back, and I'm feeling pretty good. Slept pretty much through the night. I think we woke up roughly about 2 briefly, but it was fairly easy to go back to sleep from there. I don't really think it was necessarily reset any kind of time, but if I wanted to sleep, take one and then I was fine.
And so how were the glasses?
To be honest, I don't think the glasses worked particularly well for me. I was probably still jet lagged for 3 days afterwards, which is what I'd normally get when I have jet lag.
Last night was pretty rubbish. I think I woke up about 2 a.m. and didn't get to sleep till 5 or so.
And also, it was quite a weird experience wearing them, just walking around the house with this really bright light shining into your eyes. If I had to go back to work or anything, I think it would have been quite awkward.
For those of us who can't get hold of melatonin, the new developments may herald something of a breakthrough. In Oxford, they're urging patience, though. New drugs are almost inevitable, says Professor Foster, if not as a result of his current research, then in the not-too-distant future.
Keith Wallace with potential new developments in combating jet lag, which may mean you can avoid remedies which make you look, well, a little bit eccentric, shall we say. And if you've got remedies of your own that you want to share, do drop us a line at fasttrack@bbc.com. Time now, though, to have a look at what else has been affecting travellers this week.
Tourists in Bangkok have been advised to travel with caution as thousands of demonstrators took to the streets in protests against the country's Prime Minister. More than 20 nations have issued warnings, although local reports suggest tourists appear unconcerned, with most parts of the Thai capital unaffected.
I'm not scared, I don't know what is going on, but I'm very curious.
I just came for a few months here just to have a good time.
I've heard about it, and I think it's safe for tourists, so.
Travellers making their way across the US for Thanksgiving experienced huge delays and transport chaos as a storm swept across the East Coast. The severe weather conditions, which have claimed the lives of at least 12 people, caused flight cancellations in a number of major cities. Around 45 million Americans were expected to travel during the holidays. Pilgrims attending Hajj in Saudi Arabia can now don their tourist hats after an extended Umrah program was launched to allow visitors to see other parts of the kingdom. Hajjists from more than 65 countries can now have their visas extended in a bid to promote tourism in the region. More than 6 million people are expected to perform Umrah during the coming season. And finally, if you're heading to Scotland this weekend, you might notice something different on the landscape, as construction work on the Kelpies have been completed in Falkirk. The 30-metre high, 300-tonne steel horse structures have taken months to build and are visible for miles around. They are the tallest equine sculptures in the world. Visitors will have the chance to look at them up close and personal when they open to the public in spring 2014.
Time for a short break now, but when we come back, we'll have the fourth and final part of Rajan's journey through China. This week, he visits Hefei, one of the fastest growing cities in the world. And
UNESCO's favourite mountains. Find out more on Insider Guide. Hello, I'm Michelle Yonachan, and this is Fast Track's Insider Guide with my top travel tips from around the world. Get your hiking shoes on for Australia's Great Ocean Walk, just launched as one complete stretch. The final section, an underpass beneath the Great Ocean Road, is finally done. Visitors can now walk the entire beach, where the natural rock formations of the 12 Apostles jut out from the ocean. Favourite sections include the seascapes between Air River and Johanna Beach. There's always a chance to come across koalas and kangaroos too. In the USA, the much-anticipated Perez Art Museum Miami opens in Florida on December 6th. There'll be modern and contemporary artworks and a centre for visual arts education. The opening coincides with Art Basel Miami Beach, a gathering of thousands of the world's leading gallerists, collectors, artists and art fans. All events are open to the public, including salons, video nights and art performances in Miami Beach's Collins Park. An installation of 3 giant mirrors is bringing light to the small Norwegian town of Rjukan, 100 years after the idea was first tabled. The mirrors allow winter sun to reflect into the town, which is located in a narrow valley surrounded by high mountains. The town does not see daylight between September and March, but these 50 square meters of mirrored surfaces follow the sun's movement, reflecting sunshine into the Rjukan's market square. And in Mexico, the Jumex Museum, just to open, is a new multidisciplinary institute in the capital. The expansive spaces, designed by David Chipperfield, will house contemporary art since the 1990s, including Mexican artists Miguel Calderon and Mario Garcia Torres, as well as Mike Kelly and Oliver Eliasson. A host of mountainous areas have been added to the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites this year. Italy's Mount Etna, Mount Fuji in Japan, and Mount Kenya National Park, as well as the mountains of the Pamirs in Tajikistan with its Marco Polo Argali sheep, snow leopards and Siberian ibex. The UNESCO committee has delayed a decision until next year over whether to place Australia's Great Barrier Reef on its danger list. In Italy through February 9th, Augustus is on show at the Scuderia del Quirinale in Rome. The exhibition marks 2,000 years since the first Roman emperor's death and explores his 40-year reign, the longest in the city's history. Staying in Italy, the inauguration of La Scala opera season in Milan begins December 7th with La Traviata. A preview targeting a younger audience is playing a few days earlier on December 4th. In Hungary, the Liszt Academy's main concert hall reopens in Budapest after a 4-year refurbishment. The historic Art Deco space is one of the most cherished concert venues for both acoustics and history, founded by pianist and composer Franz Liszt. In December, there'll be concerts by Hungarian violinist Barnabas Kelemen. Thanks for checking in with my Insider Guide this month. Until next time, happy travelling.
Time now for the final instalment of Rajan's journey through China. And this week he leaves behind the ancient monuments and cuddly-looking pandas that make up some of the country's most famous tourist attractions and heads to Hefei, one of the fastest growing cities in the world. It's an example of how more and more Chinese cities will look as people move away from the countryside to live and work in urban areas. But will places like this ever be fixtures on the tourist trail? Or will they remain faceless megacities that only the Chinese will explore?
Some 400 kilometres inland from Shanghai, in central China, lies the capital of the Anhui province, Hefei, a city unknown to many Chinese people, yet a perfect illustration of the changing face of this country.
Just a few years ago, Hefei was a rural backwater, and many people came to work in rice fields like this, while many others went to seek their fortune in the big city. But today, Hefei is the big city, and the modern industrial world has come here.
"21-year-old Elena is one of the new influx of country dwellers who've upped sticks, moved to the city and found work in hospitality and tourism, an industry that's booming because of the increase in business travellers. Elena's father died in an accident a few years ago, leaving her mother as the main breadwinner.
My mother has spent her whole life farming back at home. Her life is much tougher than mine. More people are coming to work in the big city to make money and provide for their family. When I first arrived in Hefei, I thought there were so many people here. The buildings were so tall and there were so many cars. The pace of life is much quicker here.
The growth rate here is so fast that it's taken many by surprise. Here's what a well-known travel book says about this city. The provincial capital is a pleasant and friendly city with lively markets, pleasant lakes and parks, but few other attractions. What it omits to mention is that in a survey of the fastest growing cities in the world over the last 20 years, top with a growth rate of over 1,000% was Hefei.
But why here? What's led to this incredible growth? Well, rising costs and wages in the major cities on the East Coast have meant that companies have pitched up here instead. And newly improved road and rail infrastructure has greatly aided that relocation. It used to take 8 hours on the train from Shanghai. Now, thanks to high-speed rail, it takes 3. But if you do find yourself here on a work trip, is there actually anything to do? Well, that's being addressed by the recent announcement of a $5 billion investment by the Dalian Wonder Group, who plan to create 2 indoor water parks, 2 museums, an outdoor theme park, shopping malls, and hotels. Already a tourist attraction is Chao Lake, one of China's largest. Hefei's extraordinary economic progress has taken its toll here, and there have been heavy pollution problems. A reported $250 million is being spent on trying to sort it out. The local tourism chief certainly appears optimistic about the local environment.
The city government has put in a lot of effort to manage Chao Lake, and it's been a great success. Lots of official departments have worked together to achieve this success. From a tourism point of view, I think it's becoming more and more beautiful, which has attracted a lot of visitors in recent years.
As Hefei evolves into a more leisure-orientated destination, the authorities say they will place more emphasis on conserving the city's natural assets. Up until now, though, this is what Hefei continues to be best known for. It claims to be the lobster capital of China, and a month-long festival dedicated to the crustacean is held every summer.
So you take one, you pull the head off, and you make it look so easy.
These Chinese lobsters are smaller than the American kind and very fiddly to shell. These women peel 15,000 a day. That's 500 kilos.
Tell me why you think people should come to this city.
Hefei is a very friendly city and people are very happy. One of the reasons why people come here from other provinces is to eat the delicious food. Eating lobster, drinking beer and making friends is the culture of Hefei.
You might not be planning to come here anytime soon, but while the Chinese economy continues to boom, you can expect cities like Hefei to be where the majority of Chinese people will find themselves living and travelling to in the 21st century.
Rajan bringing his 4-part journey through China to an end. Next week we're in Copenhagen, one of the most cycle-friendly cities in the world. But we'll be discovering why recently there's been a backlash against the bike.
The issue here is that there's a lot of Copenhageners that actually need their car, and they need to be able to commute by car. And the whole discussion is whether to stress the people using their car and force them into public transportation or biking. So the whole issue here is to make space for everyone, and that's the whole discussion in Copenhagen at the moment.
In the meantime, don't forget you can keep up with all our travels on our website, bbc.com/fasttrack, and from there you can follow the links to our Facebook, Twitter and Pinterest feeds. But for now, from me, Fiona Foster, and the rest of the Fast Track team, wherever you're heading next, have a great trip. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.